What's up, everybody? Week 12 Buffalo Bills recap. Second attempt at doing this. Thank you, YouTube, for our violation from the first video. 6-6 Buffalo Bills, 500 ball club. After 12 weeks of the season, I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card this year, and I know I didn't. I did not expect to be sitting here, beginning of December and looking at the Buffalo Bills not in the playoff picture at the moment. And as of Monday night, per ESPN's latest projections, 21% chance to make the playoffs now. Crazy upcoming schedule, and yeah, it's crazy. They lost a game they should have won this past Sunday in Philadelphia. Game they dominated. They were the better team. They look like the Bills that we thought they were coming into this season, and the fourth quarter happened, and the defense forgot how to football. So, yeah, we'll do a recap here of the Eagles-Bills game. Early on, Eagles put up the early points, took the lead, but other than that, Buffalo kicked their butts the first half, and that was going into that game. I had hardly any expectations that it was going to be a Bills win. I didn't honestly even think they'd be competitive in that game, but they came out with their hair on fire, man. Josh Allen was all over the field, making plays when his team needed him, and he rallied the troops after Philly put up the early points. Buffalo came back, answered, would have had another touchdown. James Cook drops it. We'll touch on James Cook and McDermott and that in a minute, but yeah, Cook drops a touchdown, takes points off the board, and then obviously there's the Tyler Bass missed field goals in the first half. Those take points off the board. And I think the big story from the first half was the turnovers the Bills were able to create. I mean, they were able to get a Jalen Hurts interception, and then right before the half, after Buffalo missed a field goal, they were able to recover a fumble after a mishap on the exchange from Hurts, and was able to get some points before the half. And going into halftime with the lead, you're never comfortable in the NFL, but for how good the Bills looked in the first half, man, I felt I'd say maybe 60% confident coming into the game. Remember, 0% confidence. So, but yeah, and then third quarter, they came out, put up some more points, looked really good. Defense was still holding strong. They were bending a little bit. Philly was able to make some adjustments. And then the fourth quarter showed up, and Buffalo realized they had a lead in a game that was really important to them, and the defense just totally crapped the bed. I mean, that's, I guess, the nice way to put it. I mean, they just had no answer for the Eagles' offense, and it's crazy because if you were to go back, well, heck, you're doing it now, and you could see the highlights of how the Bills were just being bullies on defense. And come fourth quarter, they did not have any kind of urgency. It seemed like, man, there was no pass rush. There was literally no pressure whatsoever, it seemed like, on Hurts. And it just allowed the Eagles to, march down the field, get points. Josh throws a untimely interception, which we'll touch on Josh in a minute. And then that turns into Eagles points, gives them the lead in the fourth quarter. Buffalo gets the ball back, drives all the way down the field, takes a bunch of time off the clock, under 2 minutes, punches it in for a touchdown to go ahead, gives the ball back to Philly with 1:55 left in the game. And as a Bills fan, especially after this season and how we've lost games this year, man, you knew it was too much time. But to their credit, the defense did tighten up there on the final drive a bit. They were able to get Philly somewhat stopped. around the Buffalo 40. And it came down to a 1 in a million kick, pretty much. 59-yard field goal in the windy, rainy conditions. And per Buffalo sports luck, it's good, and we're heading overtime. And obviously it's been well noted, by now especially, how Josh Allen and Sean McDermott have not won an overtime game yet. And of course, that's going to be a talking point for some media heads. But we get to overtime, and Buffalo actually won the coin toss for once. Goes down the field, was only able to kick a field goal. Had Josh Allen and Gabe Davis been on the same page on that third down play where Josh throws it up, Gabe's wide open, gets separation from the defender, if their scramble drill was in sync, and the Bills have a walk-off touchdown and Philly doesn't even see the field. But they don't communicate. Gives Philly the ball back with a chance to either tie the game up or go for the win. And Bills defense was MIA that drive. Philly went right down the field, scored the game-winning touchdown, puts Buffalo back to 500, and quite frankly, it probably ended their season. I mean, I'm not giving up hope on them, especially since the Bills offense seems to have figured it out these last 2 weeks. They've put up 30 points in back-to-back games against two elite defenses in the league. So you got Josh Allen, you've always got a chance in these games, but just from what I've seen from this defense here lately, I don't have too much hope, but never completely out of it with Josh Allen as your quarterback. But speaking of Josh Allen, the dude was Superman. I mean, that was arguably his best game as a professional quarterback in the NFL. I mean, running, throwing, what have you. I mean, he was making all the plays that the Bills needed. Accounted for 4 total touchdowns, over 400 yards himself of offense, and the Bills somehow lost the game. There was a stat from Ed Werder, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about point differential, and this was the 40th time a certain stat had happened in the middle of the game. Prior to that game, the team on the positive side was 39-0. Now they're 39-1. And fellow Bills fans, especially those of us that lived through the drought years, I mean, this is kind of putting us back into a drought mentality a little bit. It seems like this season, it doesn't matter how good of a position you think you're in, the game's never over, you're never safe, and you expect the worst to happen. And this season it basically has. I mean, there's a lot in the media that want to blame that on Josh Allen, which is just completely dumb. I mean, you get these guys that are paid a ton of money. I won't single out specific ones. You can get on Twitter, ESPN, you can get on any of those places and listen for yourselves. But man, some of these guys, they get on there and all they look at, they don't look at the total touchdowns, they don't look at the passing yards, they don't look at completion percentage. They go right to the INT numbers, and they see Josh Allen's leading the league right now, and it's Josh Allen can't win the big game. Josh Allen's a turnover problem. He's this, he's that, and yes, he's got to stop with the interceptions, but he's a gunslinger. I mean, he's gonna throw the ball at least 40 plus times a game, and they're gonna happen. For as much good as you get out of Josh Allen, you're gonna take some bad interceptions, and he's thrown some bad interceptions this year. But to sit up there and say Josh Allen can't win the big game, Josh Allen he's not clutch, he's not this, he's not that, it's lazy and it's just ignorant, honestly. This season alone, if you look at the Jets game week 1 that they should have won, You can look at the Patriots game, they should have won. The Broncos game, they should have won. Every single one of those games, Josh Allen walked off the football field under 2 minutes and gave his defense the lead and a chance to seal the game. And in every single one of those games, his defense let him down. So you can't put that on Josh Allen. And that's just this season. I mean, the most notable one would be the 2021 Kansas City playoff game. I mean, goodness gracious, that dude he went back and forth with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City in a playoff game and walked off the field with damn 13 seconds on the clock. And the team couldn't back him up. So it's not a Josh Allen problem. And we touched on this, I think 2 weeks ago, right after the Denver loss. I've never been on the Fire McDermott train. I've always been a Sean McDermott supporter. But after this season, and after seeing what some of the decisions that were made, that have been made, moves that have happened during games, I'm all aboard the Fire McDermott train now. I mean, it's been 7 seasons, and we've regressed every year, pretty much. I mean, Sean comes in, takes us to the playoffs for the first time, and forever, it feels like, 20-plus seasons, and, you know, we start going, you know, we get bounced in the wild card round, then we come back, and then in 2020, we go all the way to the AFC Championship game. Then 2021, we lose the heartbreaker to Kansas City in the divisional round. Last year in 2022, honestly, they should have lost the wild card game to the Dolphins, who were playing a third-string quarterback. I mean, they were terrible in that game, and they were lucky to get by. And then, obviously, you know, then they host Cincinnati and get totally dog-walked. But then this season, it doesn't look like the playoffs are even a thing. So you can't sit up there and say that the team is in a good spot under Sean McDermott. I think we've reached our peak with him. He's got a great culture that he brings. I mean, we'll forever be grateful for what he's done to Buffalo. I mean, he took over a team that was frankly satisfied, you know, at the time being a 500 ball club. You know, for so long the Bills were so used to seeing 7 wins in a season that whenever we saw a glimmer of success, you know, at say 8-9 wins, you know, we were ecstatic because Sean comes in and changes the culture. And now every year we're spoiled now. You know, we're used to, like last year we went 13-3 in the regular season and we're spoiled. But at the same time, man, you got Josh Allen as your quarterback. We should not be regressing every year. You got Stephon Diggs on your team. You should not be regressing every year. You have total studs on defense. They should not be bending over at the end of these games and letting teams walk all over them. And I'm convinced it's a coaching problem at this point. They had Leslie Frazier. Everybody thought maybe it was Leslie Frazier. But now that McDermott's got reins of the defense this season, it's obvious it wasn't all on Leslie Frazier. You know, and then last year they fired their special teams coordinator. Well, special teams unit this year hasn't been very good either. So while sure he's not directly overseeing it, he's still the head coach of the team. I mean, shoot, how long did it take him this season and parts, you know, even dating back to last season to see that, you know, the offense just wasn't working. And he refused to fire Ken Dorsey, even would go on his press conferences and say, you know, we believe in Ken, he's got a good game plan, he's got this, he's got that. And then finally, after an embarrassing loss that I guess finally gave him some courage. I don't know, but it's like, man, if you'd have made this move sooner when fans were even seeing that something was way off, you know, who knows? The season could have been salvaged because, man, Joe Brady has been just a godsend to this offense so far, you know, 2 games in. And like I said, they put up 30 points back-to-back weeks on 2 top defenses. So, yeah, I don't see him firing McDermott. You know, just 6 months ago, they signed him to a 4-year extension. through 2027. So him and Brandon Beane both. Well, I don't think Beane would ever leave unless he himself opted out. But I don't see Pegula firing him. You know, like I've said before, Pegula's a big McDermott guy. He's a big McDermott supporter, and I don't see him making that move. But luckily for us Bills fans, we head into a bye now. Recording this on Thursday. Obviously, big news broke this morning. I won't touch on it here, but even on the bye week, it seems like Bills fans are taking losses right now. So, thank goodness we get a week off. Maybe the boys will rest up and get ready, prime for a playoff push. You know, it starts next week at Kansas City. So, big game there. You know, and you got big games after that too. You got Dallas and Miami still ahead after Kansas City. So, they better use this bye week to rest up and come up with some heck of a game plan, because it's going to be an uphill battle. But I've been saying it for seems like two plus months now that 10-7 was my projection for this team. It's still obtainable, but I think if they're going to make the playoffs, they're basically going to have to win out at this point. I mean, the AFC is just so competitive. Obviously, you're going to get some help in the North with the Browns and Steelers both currently in, plus obviously the Ravens, but you know, you got to figure those three teams are going to beat up on each other, so maybe we'll get some help there. But you know, with all of our earlier losses in the year to teams that we're going to be fighting with for a playoff spot, Denver's one of them. That loss is going to really come back to haunt us, I think. But it's going to be a tall task. Basically, in my opinion, they're going to have to win out. But like I said, you've always got a sliver of hope when Josh Allen's at the helm running this team, and we'll see. Fingers crossed. If not, I think we're going to see a busy offseason in Buffalo. But yeah, going to enjoy the bye week. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Go Bills.